For those who don't know, actually, African-American soldiers during the Korean War kind of introduced Koreans to fried chicken. Apparently, fried chicken wasn't always historically been a thing here in the Korean Peninsula. And now, wherever you go inside Korea, even in the most small rural areas, you will always find a fried chicken restaurant.
Welcome to Real Talk with Mark West, where we are having better conversations with ourselves so we can have better conversations with others. But we definitely be having fun along the way. I am so grateful that you are joining me right now. I have a very special episode set up for you today. I've been exploring different ways that I can create moments of happiness, and so far I've discussed travel, beauty, and theater. But today I want to talk about something that embodies a little bit of all three, and that's food. Then, joining me from South Korea, I interview Phil the Blerd Explorer to talk about his new ebook, The Black Traveler's Guide, and the impact food has on Korean culture. Welcome to Real Talk with Mark West, a podcast about owning your shit and playing through life.
I do's what I want.
I do's what I want. I do's what I want. Now, if people would just accept that, we could get along. Come to me if you want to. I ain't scared. Shit, I bike in Chicago. I feel like I'm Neo in the Matrix, but I suck at it. I'm dodging right into the bullets, you know?
This is good therapy.
I'm your host, Mark West. I was born in the west suburb of Elgin, Illinois, and shortly after, my parents moved us to Rockford, about 90 miles west of Chicago. I spent my entire childhood in Rockford until I left for college. And for me, it always left something to be desired. It felt like something was missing that I could never find there. So I found myself in a constant state of waiting. The waiting place. I can't wait to get out of Rockford. I can't wait to be a teenager. I can't wait to get a driver's license. I can't wait to get my own place. I can't wait to go to college. I can't wait to graduate. I can't wait to move to Chicago. And then I moved to Chicago, and I realized that all I know how to do now is wait. I didn't know how to participate. I started waiting for life to happen to me. There were all of these great experiences, these great things to do in Chicago, and I wasn't versed in participating in life. Instead, I would say, oh, I can't wait to do this. I can't wait to try that. I can't wait to go there. But I never did. All places that were here in Chicago, within my reach and within my means. So I recently started focusing on the art of living rather than the art of waiting. The art of participating, the art of enjoying, the art of being. Doing those things that add to my life experience. Those things that I love and that make me happy. I believe that's the real answer to why we're here. To enjoy it. A lot of us have a conflicted relationship with food, but lately I've been tapping into the idea of finding joy in eating. Experiencing the tastes, smells, thoughts, and feelings of enjoying a meal. Food is a central part of every human culture, and there are many languages and communities that greet each other with the question of food. Something that seems inherent in the Black community is whenever someone comes over that you haven't seen in a while, you want to feed them. Have you eaten? Or, if you're from the South, G. In many languages across Asia, like Cantonese, Thai, Vietnamese, and Korean, when you ask someone, how are you? You're actually asking them, have you eaten rice? In Japanese, Toyota means fertile rice paddy, and Honda means original rice paddy. Many of us are lucky to be in a time and place where the idea of not having food never has to enter the conscious mind, and it's easy to lose sight of how beautifully lucky we are. The French chef Jacques Pepin said, "Isn't it a blessing that eating is both a necessity and a pleasure?" Eating is one of the greatest things ever. It's necessary to survive, and it's fun. The flavors you can create and experience. With so much going on around us, and eating being seen as a break from or interruption to the important stuff, we can miss out on the most basic of satisfactions. I don't remember exactly when I became obsessed with Chicago food. I had my favorite restaurants and had friends in the food industry that introduced me to new places, but I think it wasn't until I was hired as a food tour guide. I already had been leading bike tours around Chicago for a different company, one of which was a food tour, but the other 6 were history and architecture focused. But I wanted to learn more about Chicago food, and selfishly, I knew the tips for food tours were a lot better than basic history tours. People seemed to always have a good time when you're walking them to different restaurants and giving them all kinds of food to eat. But once I started getting to know the restaurants and studying the menus and reading up on histories, I realized what we were sitting on. A gold mine of stories and flavors that are unique to Chicago only and unlike anywhere else in the world. When I started my own company in 2019, I wanted that to be central to every tour, and most importantly, leave downtown and focus on the diverse neighborhoods. I knew it wasn't just the food history that people were showing up for, but the experience, the chance to connect more deeply with the place they have visited by sharing their food, sharing in the story embedded in the food and becoming a part of it. I'm not talking deep dish and hot dogs, but Nona's meatballs, Guatemalan pastries, and soft shell crab sandwiches, craft beer, specialty cocktails, and frozen Italian lemonade, making every meal an experience. This technology age has unconsciously rewired our thinking and changed our definition of experience. Anything you're present for is an experience. But with the algorithm and influencers dictating our lives and manipulating our actions and emotions through shock value, this psychological and emotional roller coaster in the name of ad revenue has left us addicted to the peaks and valleys, the highs and lows, and blind to the beauty of constants, the beauty of right now. Sitting at a bus stop and watching the traffic, going for a walk and taking in the sounds, heading to a restaurant and trying something new. These have become like the annoying commercials to our lives, things we tolerate with the help of our devices or a playlist we can zone out to. We've now forgotten how to just be, to zone in on what's happening in front of us right now, to find beauty in the ordinary, and to create our own experiences. Through experience, you learn, you grow, you heal. Through experience, you can better get to know yourself. That's how we find the beauty in the world. That's when we feel the most alive. That's how we start to understand ourselves. To love life is to live life. Create new opportunities, create new experiences, go on an adventure. Go on a Mark West foodie adventure and learn about Chicago. Travel is fatal to prejudice, bigotry, and narrow-mindedness. And if experience is the best teacher, then travel is the best experience. I am a huge lover of Korean dramas, especially thrillers, for the acting and ingenious storytelling. I've never known a movie to make you feel so cared for, safe, warm, and comforted, and then immediately flip everything on its head, slap you in the face, and then leave you standing there scared, wet, and naked as the credits roll. True poets of cinema. If you've ever seen Old Boy, oh my God, how much did you love it? And how much has it stuck with you? Low-key, I think there's a little bit of trauma from that movie, but like in the best way. One thing that sticks out to me the most, besides the ending, is the scene where Dae-soo tries fried dumplings at a bunch of different restaurants to find the store that delivered to him while he was in prison. The sound of him biting into the dumplings, seeing the crispy golden brown outside. Whenever I think about that movie, I always want fried dumplings. Is that weird? That movie kicked off my love for Korean dramas, which then spurred a love for Korean food. And while I haven't been able to travel to Korea physically, with a plethora of Korean restaurants and a nice Korean grocery store in my area, I take many trips to Korea through food. Bulgogi, bibimbap, kimchi, and yeah, there are dumplings in my freezer right now ready to be fried up. What about it? I travel through food on the regular as a way to feel connected to people in parts of the world I've never been. It gives me a deep insight into the culture and way of life. Food is always my biggest motivator whenever I do travel. When I pick a destination, I make sure it has plenty of great spots to eat and offers new eating experiences. My first night in Beijing during my China trip, my friend and I walked down the crowded tiny side streets and picked a random restaurant to eat at. It was 90 degrees at midnight and 90% humidity. It was like walking through soup, and I was wearing cotton. We picked this spot with red lanterns hanging over it, which meant the food was spicy. We sat on the patio and ordered the peppered steak, because, why not? I should remind you, the bell pepper is not native to China, and it is not in authentic Chinese cuisine. They meant hot chili peppers and the infamous Sichuan peppercorn. Sichuan peppercorn is known for spicy numbness. It's literally so hot it's cold. When you eat it, it causes a tingly numbness in your mouth that can feel like touching your tongue to a 9-volt battery. It acts on the nerve endings, so the lips and mouth feel like they're vibrating and go vaguely numb. Each inhale is ice cold, and the combination of burning and numbing from the Sichuan peppercorn first facilitates sweating, which creates a total body cooling effect in the sweltering heat, but it also takes a bit of the bite out of the chilies so you can keep eating more. We actually felt so much cooler the further we got into our meal. Though our faces were numb and our brains confused by the icy fire happening in our mouths, we ate every last bite of that delicious plate of lava. I can taste it now. That was my first time ever having Sichuan peppercorns, and we went back to that same restaurant and had the same thing for late night dinner every night while in Beijing. Cold sweating in 90-degree heat, the air like soup, experiencing the temperature, taste, and spiciness of the steak in a brand new way. I haven't been to China since 2011, but I have a favorite restaurant here in Chinatown that can recreate that experience for me when I need it. They bring me my plate of pepper steak tossed in hot chilies and Sichuan peppercorns and my bowl of jasmine rice, and I'm instantly transported to a hot summer night in Beijing. Food is more than just food. We connect to ourselves, we connect to each other, we connect to the world when we eat food. Food has power. It holds histories. It brings people together. It sustains our existence. It's a reminder, a memory, a story, a journey, a destination. I could literally spend all day talking about food, but I want to take this time to segue to the next part of the episode and introduce my guest. Phil the Blerd Explorer is an avid traveler and travel content creator based in South Korea. Blerd means black nerd. He aims to produce travel information from the viewpoint of a black person in an effort to demonstrate to the community how traveling the world can be an enriching and life-changing experience. Phil is a listener of Real Talk with Mark West and reached out to talk about his new ebook, the second in his series, The Black Traveler's Guide. This one is called The Black Traveler's Guide to Daegu, South Korea. His words about the book. Over the years, Black tourism has grown into a billion-dollar industry. It's a wonderful feeling to see more Black travel content on social media. Unfortunately, our presence is still minimum compared to other demographics. The Blerd Explorer has returned to create a new travel guide for Black people by Black people. This guide will focus on one of the largest cities in Korea, Daegu. For the first time, readers will be able to read stories from other Black people who have lived in Korea. Phil joined me via video chat from Daegu to discuss his new book, Connecting to a Destination Through Food, and how food fits into Korean culture. What do you think happiness is? What's your definition?
Feel excited, like you feel comfortable. Like for example, if you know that you're financially secure, bills are paid, everything's taken care of, you're financially stable, you got enough money to take care of yourself, and in that case of emergency, you're good to go. I think once you feel that comfortable, that peace of mind, it's like, okay, I can focus on other things that make me happy.
As a foodie, is food actually something that you believe can contribute to someone's happiness?
Yes, I think food is like a universal language in a sense that it introduces other people to, well, another culture. I'm in South Korea. I teach English in South Korea. I use, for example, when I'm doing my teaching classes, I'll use pictures of food from other countries to show my kids, hey, there's other cultures out there besides Korea. There's other great foods that you should definitely want to check out and try in the future.
What actually led you to want to create a travel guidebook?
So the Black Travelers Guide ebook series, the reason I started because nobody was really doing, I guess, like an overall general travel guide for Black people of African descent. Now, of course, anybody's welcome to read it. It's not just, it's because you got to be Black to read it, of course. But the idea is for many Black people, especially African Americans, for instance, most of us have never really traveled or lived abroad. If they did, it's because they were in the military. Like, that's usually a common trope, at least for African Americans. And so basically, I want to say, okay, it's a niche market. Nobody's really done it before. And because I've seen travel books like, say, Solo Guide for solo men. I think I saw one for like solo Black women, which is great and they're useful. But for this guy, I kind of want to hit everybody. I want to hit like the single male, Black women, gay folk, family folk. Try to hit like everybody in that Black diaspora. And I think I listened to one of your recent podcasts where you traveled in China about how you were a gay Black man. And I thought, okay, you probably want to hear somebody who looks like us, who's traveled abroad, who probably provide insight what's like to say possibly a gay Black male in China or in South Korea, because obviously when it comes to travel in general, especially in Asia, the darker you are, as you fully aware, the darker you are, the more looks you're going to get. Because let's be honest, because most, especially in South Korea, most Koreans really don't interact with foreigners. If they do, it's always mostly a white person. And like when it comes to, like, say, for example, teaching English, most Koreans never had a non-white teacher. It's pretty rare. Especially for somebody who looks like me. I'm a tall, dark-skinned Black male. So for some students, I was like the first Black teacher or either the first Black male teacher that they ever had.
When I was reading it, from that perspective, it kind of, I don't know how to dance around this question. Basically, it made me think of like a green book for
South I got that before. Korea, it's okay. I got that. Better word. Yeah, no, I got the similar trope before. I got the similar response as well.
I didn't want to say it, but I'm like, there's no other way to say it. Let's just tap it on the.
No, that's all right. I got that before.
Is that what this book is?
No, it's not like a green book. Well, kind of, but not really. I guess I would say 80-20. 80% no, it's not a green book. 20% yes, it's kind of a green book. Now, the difference between the green book was like, that was definitely necessary because I could say that was a matter of life and death for our grandparents, great grandparents at the time. So having that green book was necessary. Whereas ours is like, this one is like, okay, you don't really need it. It's just something to pick up and read. Like any typical travel book you can find online on it, on the Google Play books and stuff like that. I wrote in the book about how, as a Black person, you will get stared at mostly because I keep hitting the point that it's all because curiosity. Because most Korean, like I said, don't really see Black foreigners, especially never a non-white person. It's just not something that they do.
Is food central to like socializing in Daegu in particular, or is that a Korean thing?
Oh, just South Korea in a whole, as food culture, drinking culture is massive over here. It's very common for Koreans, to get socialized with beer or going out to, get somgyeopsal or other Korean type of foods. it's very common for Koreans like to do the thing we'll call marting. Like people will just buy a bunch of food or drinks and beer from the convenience store and sit out at the convenience store and just eat snacks and drink all into the night. And that was pre-COVID, of course.
Well, so has that changed? How has the food scene changed since COVID then?
A lot, of course. Unfortunately, many restaurants, due to restrictions, a lot of restaurants went out of business for good. Of course, night markets, I don't think they're really as active. It's really hard to say because, COVID, a lot of things have changed. Each city, most cities have their own night markets, and they all, each city has their own different rules and regulations. Say, okay, now you can do a night market, but at a limited time, or we're just not doing night markets at all. So it's hard to say which place is a good place, to check out the night markets, because again, I don't know who's going to be open or when.
I've been reading up on how cities, for the purpose of trying to stay safe, are, abandoning that element of the Korean culture, that outdoor dining. After work, you go sit on some picnic chairs and just hang out. Is that something you're seeing where you live?
Not as much. I mean, there's still got your typical food stalls, like you said, mostly because for most, especially the older generation, that's like their livelihoods. Like that's how they survive. Because so South Korea didn't really have, like, I guess you could say, like a retirement pension or social security. Like, I mean, they kind of have it now, but for the old generation, that was never really a thing. Because historically, in like many Asian cultures, when people get older, they go live with their children, basically. Times have changed over here in South Korea, so it's not really as much of a thing anymore. So that's why you still see more Koreans still working at the shops, having like food stalls, because that's most of their livelihood. Like, they might get a pension, but it's just not enough to pay bills and stuff.
Yes, I see. Okay, so that kind of would be their social security. They still have that food because everybody eats. Okay,
right, exactly. It's still there, even in big cities. You still people going to the food stalls even late into the night. Now, because of the COVID restrictions, they may close up shop earlier than they normally would because of the pandemic. But it's very common for, you still see food vendors selling tteokbokki or like chicken on a stick, stuff like that. So it's not uncommon.
I wanted to talk about chicken and beer in the South Korean culture. Something that people might not think, because especially when it comes to fried chicken. Right. People like to associate fried chicken with black people. And the best quote I've ever heard about fried chicken was from one of my college professors. And he was like, do you know who likes fried chicken? Black people. Do you know who else likes fried chicken? Everybody. So I just wanted to get your perspective on how is chicken and beer tied into Korean culture?
Oh, it's heavily tied. Now, for those who don't know, actually, African-American soldiers during the Korean War kind of introduced Koreans to fried chicken, because apparently fried chicken, like Sunday Sun style, like what that we know, wasn't always historically been a thing here in the Korean Peninsula. It was until like around, I think, like the Asian crash in the late 70s and 80s, many Koreans ended up trying to open their own chicken franchises and restaurants. And now, like, wherever you go in South Korea, even in the most small rural areas, you will always find a fried chicken restaurant. Like, they're everywhere that much. And also, in case you didn't know, there's actually a fried chicken and beer festival, too.
Chime Festival?
The Daegu Chimik Festival.
Yes, the Chimik Festival. And what type of things are at this festival? Is it just fried chicken and beer?
You got fried chicken, you got other Korean traditional snacks and dishes. It's a music festival too, of course.
Oh yes. So besides food, what are types of things people can expect to find in your book and learn about?
Malay's book, the Daegu book, was made last year in 2021. You definitely find different locations you want to check out. I talk about some of a temple that's worth it. Palgosan, hiking over in South Korea. I talk about the night markets, and also in the Daegu book, I have a little Q&A section where I provide other Black people who I personally reached out to in the Black expat Facebook group in South Korea to provide their experience of what it's like to be a Black person in South Korea.
What is your favorite section of the book, and also what's your favorite part of Daegu?
I would say my favorite part has to be the Q&A section, because I wanted to provide inputs, not just from a Black American perspective. I think I got some people I had one person from the UK, I got one person from Canada, I think, provide their input. Favorite place? Ooh, that's a good question. I would have to say Seoul Moon Market, the marketplace for sure. Definitely for the food, especially the traditional noodle dishes called kalkusu, like a knife cut noodles and stuff. Those are pretty good.
And is there any specific place where people should be purchasing your ebook?
You can find both the ebooks on Amazon right now in ebook formats.
Awesome. Well, I'll definitely have links for those available in the description section as well. But thank you for your time, and thank you again for reaching out.
Fried chicken. Fried chicken. Fried chicken. Give me fried chicken. Baby, it's all that I want to take me through the day. Give me fried chicken. I want it bona fide, southern fried. Tennessee, guaranteed, it's okay with me. I want it.
From now on, I am 100.5% committed to taking active control of my experiences. Not that I'm going to focus on avoiding difficulties, because we can't all the time, but I'm going to make sure I have a backlog of impactful, fulfilling, happy experiences to get me through whatever life throws at me. Simply walking through my neighborhood of Logan Square can be so rejuvenating for me. Once you leave the concrete jungle of downtown, you enter the natural jungle of the neighborhoods, and Logan Square is exceptionally beautiful. The trees, the flowers, the historic mansions. My morning walks can be more refreshing than a cup of coffee. Taking in what I'm a part of. Through my tour company, Tour Chicago, I'm starting my City Beautiful food tours, designed to feel like you're out on a weekend stroll through the neighborhood and decide to pop into a few local spots for a quick bite to eat. It focuses on quality and diversity and incorporates a detailed walk along the quiet residential streets as an added spice to the meal. Chicago has some of the best cuisine from all over the world, a fusion of every culture, where one of the best burgers in the city is served at a Thai restaurant. The best sushi is made by a Mexican chef at a spot owned by Koreans, and everybody here knows at least one word of Greek. Opa! It's an international tour, tucked away in our many different neighborhoods. If you're bold enough to really experience Chicago, meet me in the historic Logan Square neighborhood this summer for one of my food tours and learn about this thriving, family-friendly community of artists, musicians, and some of the best restaurants in Chicago. It's a neighborhood that I call home. You can find booking information at tourtheshy.com or, of course, heymarkwest.com and hit the button Tour Chicago. With your booking, you also support Palenque LSNA, a woman of color-led nonprofit organization serving the residents of Logan Square. Palenque LSNA is a catalyst for Black, Brown, Indigenous, and immigrant communities and allies to take care of one another and take strategic action for systemic change and a just, resilient, and joyful future. Thank you for joining me for the final episode of Season 2 of Real Talk with Mark West. And thank you for sticking with me. Now, I'm not going away. I'm not going anywhere. I'm just taking a short break for the summer to work on more episodes and have some fun at my dinner parties and food tours. You should join me. Check out upcoming tours and make sure you're on the list for Family Meal. It's all on my website, heymarkwest.com. I gotta get going, but I love you all, and we'll see you soon. Don't forget to follow and subscribe to this podcast, and if you enjoy the content, it would mean so much to me if you would rate and review to tell people on the fence about listening how much you get out of it. I'll be announcing the date for my next episode on my social media pages with sneak peeks of the new content I have coming up, including YouTube. Make sure you're following me. Social links are at heymarkwest.com. Have a great summer. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I really hope you enjoyed this episode. If you got something out of it, please leave a review, follow and subscribe, and of course, share this episode with a friend. It takes just a couple seconds, but the impact and my gratitude are immeasurable as every little bit helps in growing awareness. To find more episodes, or to talk back to me about your journey, visit heymarkwest.com. There you'll find my social media links, as well as additional resources for support. I'm Mark West, and until next time, don't forget, you are a rock star. You've got this.